welcome back to Interactive Wrestling Radio right here on WrestlingEpicenter.com. And on the Newsmaker line is one of my old-time favorites. The incomparable Boris Zukov is on the line with us. Boris, are you with us?
Sure am. Good evening to you.
Good evening to you as well. I got to tell you, there's probably a lot of people right now that just heard you talk and all of a sudden said, wait a minute, that's not a Russian accent.
No, this is a Russian accent.
All right. Now, we don't have to start with the Russian national anthem, do we?
No.
All righty. Well, it's great to talk to you. Basically, for those who haven't, heard your name in a few years, what's been going on? How are you doing, and what you up to?
Oh, doing very well. I'm a over-the-road truck driver now.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Fred Ottman, Typhoon or Tugboat is doing that now too, I think.
Right. Yeah. A few guys are doing that. So yeah, sure are.
And you enjoy life on the road then still?
Yeah, because that's all I've ever done. So that's why I stuck with it. So.
Very good. Well, let me ask you this question: what in the world ever brought you into this crazy wrestling business in the first place?
Well, that was something I wanted to do. I decided I wanted to do while I was still a junior, and then junior high, and then high school.
Really, and obviously you brought in. Everybody knows the backstory that you ended up in Crockett and AWA and then WWF, but was getting to Crockett like a huge accomplishment for you at that point in 1982?
Yeah, because I grew up watching all that, and then I got to become a big part of it. So that was a big dream for me. So that in fact, that to me that's the most special part for me, because that was such a big promotion here in our local area. For many years. So
very cool. Now you were the babyface for a while, and then when you went to the AWA, you kind of repackaged you, changed your name, and that's when Boris Zukov was born.
Right.
How did you like changing everything up and suddenly donning such a new menacing Russian character at the height of the Cold War?
Well, real enjoyable, because like I said, when I got started, I started out being a heel. Then I first went to Crockett. I was a heel because when I worked with Sergeant Slaughter,
right.
Up with Don Canotto and all that, So I already had that background. But that was something I had wanted to do, because Ivan was a big heel here, and Ivan Koloff here for Crockett with Mid-Atlantic, and then I got to be with Ivan in Atlanta when I first moved down to Atlanta and everything. So that was a big thing for me to get to do, So, and then I had a chance to when I left Crockett to go work for Bill Watts in Louisiana, and that was a great thing about the territories, because you could go somewhere and be somebody else, and nobody knew who you was. So
there you go. You think that's what's missing in today's wrestling?
Yeah, cable killed it.
You think cable killed it?
Yes.
Wow.
Terry Funk said that years ago, that it was going to be the undoing of wrestling, and he was so right. So
really,
yeah, and the territories are gone. I mean, and there's no new talent to come from anywhere. Everybody already knows everybody. You got the same old guys with TNA, and they're going back and forth between WWE. There's nowhere for new guys to come from and get experience because you talk to the young guys now, they can't comprehend getting to be in the ring every night.
Huh.
And another thing that I've noticed is that a lot of the talented guys that probably would make great wrestling talents, they're all going to MMA and UFC.
Right.
Would that have been something you would have done?
You can't get experience if you're not in the ring, and you can't get experience only a couple nights a week. They don't cut it.
Right.
You know what? I got to tell you something. Bill Eadie said something once on our interview.
I was just thinking about that.
Oh, he was at an indie show, Bill Eadie, Demolition Axe, and he was at an indie show, and he said to this kid who was there, he said, "How long have you been wrestling?" "I've been wrestling 2 years." He said, "Really? How many matches have you had?" He said, 30. He said, "You have 1 month experience."
Oh, yeah.
I think that's...
Yeah, and he's exactly right, because, even when I first went to Atlanta, and I was just doing it part-time, he could wrestle 6 times on the weekend, 4 times on Saturday, and then on Sunday.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, and when I got going full time, you'd be begging for a night off. You'd go, and then in the summertime, see when I got with Crockett full time. In the summertime, we had matinees. We had Saturday afternoon and Sunday afternoon, and Saturday night and Sunday night.
Wow.
And then you worked all week long. And that's the only way you get experience. You don't get experience sitting at home. You got to be in that ring every day, and that's how you learn.
Absolutely. Who came up with the actual name of Boris Zukov?
I came up with it myself.
Really? Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Cool name.
Yeah, she did.
So I guess we got to talk about when you finally, you were actually doing real well in the AWA. You were tag champs with Soldat Yuzunov, and Adnan LKC was your manager. And I guess something happened with Sheik, and Nikolai needed a partner, and you ended up forming the Bolsheviks. Was that, how did that end up coming about, and was it a big jump for you to go all the way to the what was becoming obviously the juggernaut that is now the WWE?
Yeah, because at that time I saw the writing on the wall. Other territories were starting to go by the wayside, and I saw what the WWF was doing, and it was really the only choice I had. But I had 2 people that put in a good word for me when they was looking for a partner for Nikolai, and that was Jack Lanza and Sherry Martel.
Really? Very good.
Yeah. They both put in a good word for me, and then I had the offer come from WWF to go. It's just that when they wanted me to leave, they didn't want me to be no part of dropping the tag titles. My contract was running out. I told them what date it was running out, and in fact, 24 hours after it ran out, I had my first show with WWF.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Now, how did you enjoy your run in WWF? Because it seemed like it was something that they never fully, went with. It was kind of push and pull, kind of. That's just the way it appeared to me. Was that how you felt?
Yeah. Well, I knew what it was going to be the first night I went there. I was just going to be I was going to be with Nikolai and everything, and of course we had a ton of heat because of the Soviet Union and the gimmick and everything, but I knew right off it was just going to be part of the support cast. So,
wow. Well, it's got to be pretty cool for you to say you've actually wrestled Hulk Hogan at the height of everything that was going on there.
Oh yeah, and everybody I got to work with, because everybody was just super, Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Macho Man and Steamboat and Santana and Martel and the British Bulldogs and Junkyard Dog and Jake Roberts, on and on, so yeah, and to me that's all mattered. The only thing that ever mattered to me, and I never could get guys to understand, you don't make any money. Back then days, you didn't make any money unless you was booked.
Ah, there you go.
Stay healthy. If you weren't in the ring every night, you didn't make any money.
There you go. So you were on nearly every show. So
yeah. So as long as I was booked and making money, I didn't really care. So that's how I looked at it. Because it was.
One thing I wanted to ask you. I'm sorry. Well, one thing I wanted to ask you about is something that's really been lost on today's modern wrestling, and that's the importance of tag team wrestling. Is that something that you feel is missing from wrestling? Would you like to see more of a return of tag teams? Because obviously you played a big part in that back in the 80s.
Yeah, but the bad thing is now is nobody has any psychology today. Nothing they do makes any sense.
Absolutely.
They just go out there and go and do stuff without any reasoning. None of it makes any sense.
I agree. I think that's
there's no logic. You can go out there and give some guy a big bump off the top rope, and you keep the match going. That don't make any sense.
Absolutely.
You drop a guy from that far, the match should be over.
I agree.
They'll pick a guy and give him a suplex off the top rope, and the next thing they knew is shoot him in the rope and give him an elbow. That makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think
there's no psychology to anything they do. They just go out there and do spots, and none of it makes any sense.
So I take it you're not. I agree, by the way, but I take it you're not a huge fan of watching it anymore.
I don't care to watch none of it anymore because it's dead. They've killed it. Vince killed it.
Do you think they'll ever bring it back? Do you think there's any way to bring it back?
If they don't go back to wrestling, it'll never come back. They've done everything they can do. There's nothing left to do except to go back to the beginning, and that's wrestling. And that was another thing Terry Funk said years ago. It's got to go back to wrestling. And they don't wrestle because nobody knows how to wrestle.
Now, you quoted Terry Funk twice. Is he like a mentor of yours?
Yes, he was a very big help to me. And like I said, they don't listen to them old guys. My gosh, when I got started, that's who I paid attention to because them guys were on the road every night making money, and I figured if I wanted to be on the road every night, I needed to learn from them. So that's who I learned from. Was guys like him, Steamboat, Flair, and Ole and Gene Anderson, and guys like that.
Absolutely. By the way, Terry's been on our show a couple times, and he's given me the...
If you go back and watch the matches of years ago with guys that were in the ring every night, them guys told a story.
Right.
When they was in the ring. You watch their matches, watch the matches today, it's like the matches today are nothing but scrambled eggs. Nothing makes any sense.
Very good. And I mean, the ones who can still do it are the ones that are on top, but unfortunately those guys are getting up there in age, so
yeah,
you're kind of in a position now where I don't know what the next step is. I mean, some people have argued with me that, you know, MMA has just simply stolen the simple formula of wrestling and because it's real. And
right.
And that's why people are flocking to that rather than watching wrestling anymore. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. If they have something to follow, there's no angles or nothing. Like I said, the angles years ago, you could have an angle that would last almost a year, and now they do it in 3 weeks.
Yeah, and they have
pay-per-view.
Exactly, because it's all exactly what Pat just said. It's all leading into a pay-per-view, and
it all leads into a pay-per-view. When they did TV years ago and stuff, there'd be times they'd leave you hanging. You could have a tag match go off the air, and you wouldn't find out what happened until the very next week. And wrestling only came on once or twice a week back then. Now it comes on all the time, and it doesn't mean anything.
I would tend to agree.
It's just been oversaturated.
We interviewed Nikolai Volkov about, it's almost 7 years ago. I had him on, and he kind of kayfabed me a little bit. Said that basically everything that he did in the 80s was cartoonish, and he hated it and all that, and that included his tag run with you. And how did you like Nikolai?
Oh, we got along great. You know, we just had to do what the office said to do, and I know exactly what he's talking about because we were, put between a rock and a hard spot, and we could only do what they let us do.
Very cool. Well, I guess you've been out of the ring for a while now. When did you officially retire?
Officially, I left WWF right at the end of '90, early part of '91. Then I just went straight into doing some independents for about a year, and then I started training for truck driving in '92s. But officially, as far as doing independent shows, it's been about a year ago.
Really? So it's only been about a year that you've been you've officially been done. If anybody called up, would you still do it, or you officially just done?
No, my time is gone.
Your time is done? Oh, okay.
Yeah, my time's done. So, yeah, because I can't do the things I used to do. Once you can't do the things you used to do, it's time to stop.
There you go. That's a good idea. And well, I got to tell you, it's been great having you on so far. And can I give you just a couple word associations, just a couple names that have passed through the years that you've seen, and maybe give me, if you have a one-word answer, great. If you have just a small story, feel free to do that as well.
Okay.
Okay. I guess the first one is Sherry Martel.
Oh, Sherry, she was just a wonderful, sweet lady. Like I said, she gave me a big help getting to WWF with Vince. She went to Vince for me and stuff, because we were good friends in the AWA, and she was real close with with me and my entire family, and real good to my son and stuff. She was a very, very special, sweet friend, and I miss her dearly.
Absolutely. It's really stunning when you go back and watch a tape from that era of wrestling, and you just kind of, I don't know if everybody else does it, but I kind of make a tally of, okay, that one's gone, that one's gone, that one's gone. It's a horrible thing to even think about.
She was one of the best women wrestlers we ever had. I got to do a mixed tag with her one time. We had a blast. Oh. And she was solid as a rock in that ring too. So yeah, she didn't mess around. So I had a lot of respect for her because she gave it 100% all the time.
How about Sergeant Slaughter?
Super guy, just 100% class act, no doubt about it. And he helped us so much, because we did the deal with the Private Nelson and all that stuff, mm-hmm. and then I got to work the gimmick with him with the Russian thing and stuff. So but the thing with Private Nelson, that's what and working with him then, that's what helped me so much down the road.
Pat, do you want to give one?
Oh, sure. How about Hulk Hogan?
Hulk was the goose that laid the golden egg. There'll never be another one. There'll never be another Hulk Hogan.
Absolutely not.
How about this one? A celebrity that you interacted with at WrestleMania 6. How about Steve Allen?
Oh, Steve, yeah, we got to do that little gig with him and stuff, and that was a blast because he helped so much doing that whole thing. That was just a blast to do. I really enjoyed that. He was a great guy.
Yes, he was. And before he went, he had seen the writing on the wall with wrestling too, by the way. I don't know if you read much of his later editorials and things, but before he passed away, he said very vividly that he did not like the direction that wrestling had taken. And looks like we all agree on the line, I think. So, and I guess the final... Yeah. Sorry?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. A lot of people feel that way.
Absolutely. And the final one I have for you, and then we'll let you go. For those who don't know, we're actually recording this like at 11:30 at night on the East Coast, so we're going to let you get to sleep. I guess the guy who gave you, the most exposure ever and never failed to take a chance to talk about the size of your head, Vince McMahon.
Oh, Vince, yeah, he loved to talk about the size of my head and stuff and everything. But yeah, it was great getting to go work for him and all that stuff. I just don't like what he did to the business.
Very good. And I guess the next question, the last question I have for you is, do you want to promote your Facebook page if people want to catch up to you and maybe share some stories about seeing you when you were an active performer?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Just Boris Zukov on my Facebook page and stuff and everything, So, but I'll tell you what, the person I'd like to mention was a guy who gave me my big start and my first big break was Ole Anderson. Ole
Anderson, who, by the way, it's a travesty that he's not in Orlando, Florida right now.
Yeah, but he doesn't care about that junk.
You don't think so?
No. He should be there. There's no excuse that they didn't put him in. It's an atrocity as far as I'm concerned. They didn't put him in, but Ole don't care about stuff like that.
Well, God bless him. And Ole is. Can I give you one quick Ole story? A guy who works on our website called him up for an interview once, and the guy does not know Ole Anderson's history.
Oh, goodness sakes.
Ole actually gave him a quiz on the phone.
Oh, I'm sure.
He gave him a quiz on the phone. He got maybe one of the 4 questions right. And he said, I'll tell you what, you buy and read my book, call me back, I'll quiz you again, and we'll do the interview.
Yeah, that's Ole.
That's him.
Yeah.
Everybody else would be like that, SOB, and I'm like, I think that's awesome. So
yeah. When he was booking there in Georgia and stuff, and I'd only been working independent for about a year, I got in touch with him, and he told me to come down, and he'd take a look at me, and he put me right in the ring with him and Ivan Koloff in a tag match and stuff, and I was very fortunate and went on from there and stuff. He gave me good bookings and kept me busy, made me money, and gave me my first big break. And I love him to death. So I have a world of respect for him.
Absolutely. Well, God bless you, sir. Thank you again for giving us this opportunity to talk to you. It's always a treat and an honor for me personally to do this. And, again, I can't thank you enough for spending this time with us tonight.
You're welcome. I'm glad to do it.
All right. Thank you. This was Boris Zukov here on Interactive Wrestling Radio. Stay tuned for more. Welcome back to Interactive Wrestling Radio. We just finished up with Boris Zukov and WrestleMania just completed. We're recording this just moments after The Rock defeated John Cena in the main event of WrestleMania 28. Here we are. What did you guys think?
I'll let Nick go first because I'm sure he's going to be really passionate about this more than I am.
Well, do you mean what do I think of the Rock Cena match, or what did I think of the show overall?
Show overall.
I honestly think they tanked the first hour in an effort to help Triple H and The Undertaker look better in comparison. I feel like you had a lot of really disappointing matches. I mean, my God, Daniel Bryan and Sheamus get 18 seconds for what's supposed to be a title match. Beth Phoenix eats another pin to fucking Maria Menounos. Both the Cody Rhodes match and the Randy Orton Kane match just seemed like both guys nobody really wanted to open the gas tanks. I mean, I will say that the Undertaker Triple H match was good, but I thought it went too long and it got very, very overbooked. I mean, I've seen Combat Zone Wrestling have more restraint in the amount of high spots they do in Cage of Death, for God's sakes. I feel like Jericho versus Punk got screwed with that stupid, if you get disqualified, Punk, you'll lose the WWE title because.
But they threw it at the last minute.
Yeah, it was last minute, and also the story had been Punk wants to kill Jericho. He wants to tear him apart. Well, now he can't do that. Now he has to hold back. You could see the finish of the 12-man tag 2 miles away. And Rock and Cena had a very boring match, not helped by the fact both men were gassing in five minutes into the damn thing.
Yeah, I felt like towards the end especially that both men were gassed. But, the overall impressions of WrestleMania, I guess you pretty much already went match by match, but starting with Sheamus and Daniel Bryan, I didn't give a shit about this match going in. I made the comment this morning to somebody I was talking to that if they dropped that match, I wouldn't even notice. That's how unimportant that match is. And then WrestleMania kicks in. They're the opening match. Surprise, surprise. And it ends literally just like that, 18 seconds. And I started laughing because I'm like, the internet nerd rage is going to be insane. But, here we go again. The world title means nothing. It makes no sense to have two world champions if this is what you're going to do with the other world title match. It just felt like such a throwaway. And it's like, all right, Royal Rumble, built up to just a 12-second match, and nobody really cared about this match anyway. And Daniel Bryan's reign was pointless. Sheamus winning the Rumble was pointless. It was just a pointless thing all around. And I'm just saying, look, let's just go back to let's go back to having just one world champion because this one doesn't mean shit. Well, the second year in a row it's opened the show, and it got bitched out pretty quickly.
Yeah, and you know what? And I spent the whole night watching other shit. They did a stupid thing where Mick Foley and Santino hung out with one of the guys from Deadliest Catch. They gave Brodus Clay and his mama time to dance. They had Rock and Cena.
That was weird as hell.
Yeah, they had Rock and Cena have a mini concert before their match with these two rappers coming out to play a whole song as like a video of Rock and Cena played in the background. It's like you had all this time and you gave absolutely nothing to these two guys. But you know what? You didn't give them anything going in. The very least you could have done was say, okay, guys, here's 10 minutes. Do what you can do with it. Instead, it's like...
the thing is that I felt like Cena and Rock, the match itself, I felt was about 10 minutes too long. And I felt like Taker and Triple H, you could have shaved a few minutes off of that. So there you go.
Definitely.
So, I mean, so if I hear they didn't have time, it's like, well, I thought Brock and Cena was 10 minutes too long, but I'll get to that later. Next up was Kane versus Randy Orton, which I was shocked to hear that this match only went 10 minutes because it felt so much longer.
Well, again, I'm going to say I think WWE tanked the entire first hour because they didn't want to run the risk that anyone could have like a really good match and steal the show in the first hour, and then maybe the crowd doesn't respond as well as they would want for Triple H and The Undertaker. I mean, I could literally see The Undertaker and Triple H's hands reaching into the ring because, honestly, it seemed like everyone that was working in the first hour just was having the average house show match.
You could see that happening, like at the end of that Stephen King movie, where the hand of God comes down and destroys Las Vegas. That's what you could literally see happening in the ring.
Well, not literally, but I could just see, this morning, Triple H and The Undertaker getting a hold of the rundown saying, this is too long. No, they can't do this. No, wait, Randy can't hit the RKO off the top rope and Kane kicks out. We're going to do a similar spot. That's out. No. 10 minutes for Cody Rhodes and the Big Show? No, 4 minutes.
Well, they got less than that.
Yeah.
And again, Kane and Orton was terrible. Let's move on to the next one. Cody and Big Show, again, I almost feel like Cody's character was so good throughout this build-up that I was like, it sucks that he's just going to lose at Mania, and sure enough, he lost at Mania. Yeah. They lost the title to Big Show, which they said, I love that they had Big Show crying and was like, oh, it's a WrestleMania moment. It's like, fuck you, no it's not. Nobody's going to remember this in 3 years.
It was Skinner beating the Blue Blazer.
I don't know if it's that
WrestleMania
bad.
7 reference, oh boy.
WrestleMania 8.
8, oh, I'm off by a year.
Well,
they cut that from the VHS release? I think they did.
No, they didn't.
That's a match nobody really is going to remember afterwards. I mean,
that's Demolition versus Tenryu and the other guy.
Kitao.
7. That was like...
Yeah, that's the one, yeah. Can't have LOD versus Demolition, but they can give us Demolition versus these two Japanese guys that I've never heard of.
Well, Tenryu ran SWS, which was running shows that WWF guys were appearing on in Japan. It was kind of their answer to New Japan. I don't know if it was Vince's way of trying to get even with WCW for working with New Japan or what, but it ultimately didn't work. Tenryu was a legend in Japan, though.
Yeah. But, so the IC title match, that happened. And then you got the Divas match. I mean, what is there to really say? It's the same Divas match you've seen a million times. Now, I want to ask this to you, Nick, because somebody texted me. I didn't even notice because I was only half paying attention to it. Somebody told me that Maria Menounos shit her pants.
I'll be honest. I didn't watch this particular event through the most legal of means, and I was also flipping back, updating the Facebook page. I didn't know any strange brown spots appearing on her pants. Apparently this woman has like several injuries from the dancing show, so I could also see maybe she tore something and she was bleeding. I have no fucking idea. I had not heard that.
Okay, somebody told me she shit her pants, so I don't know. I'm not going to say that it did happen. I didn't notice if it did. So, yeah, that's the most interesting thing we have to talk about as far as the Divas go. And then we got the match that I felt was the best part of the show, but also kind of killed it. When I saw it was coming as early as it did, I was like, uh-oh, that's not good. That's Undertaker versus Triple H in Hell in a Cell, which I will say, very good match. There were a couple nitpicks. I felt like they didn't use the cell at all, so what was the point of the cell? That's number one. Number two,
the blood.
Well, I can live with that, but I did have a problem with Undertaker surviving 20 chair shots, 2 sledgehammer shots, 2 pedigrees, and a super kick, and he still kicks out. I mean, we're at a point right now where literally the streak can never end, because if it ever ended, it would be anticlimactic, because, I mean, he's just going to kick out of everything.
Yeah.
Nick, you there? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here. I mean, it's like I said, I think it's going to happen again where they had a good match, but people are going to say, it's one of the greatest ever. It was beautiful. It's an example of why they can't retire yet. I mean, and the worst part about it is, I mean, you also had, I feel like Shawn kind of the stuff they were doing with Shawn where he's like, it's over, just pin him. No, you call it off. You finish it, Shawn. And then Undertaker's like, don't end it, Shawn. Don't end it. It's like, seriously, you three guys are having a conversation right now?
Well, I'll be honest, I really like Shawn's performance in the match. Like, I thought he was kind of the MVP, but again, most of my problems with this match is like minor nitpicking. Overall, I thought it was an exciting match. I thought it was the best part of this WrestleMania. Again, I don't think it was as good as the 27 match they had last year, because it's like, all right, we know he's going to kick out of the tombstone. We know he's going to kick out of the pedigree. It's just those same old things, because we just expect those things now, and the drama is a little lessened because of that. But overall, I did think it was a very good match. Overall, it was by far the best part of the show.
I'll say this. I thought it was a good match. I think Jericho and Punk, once they got going, was the better match. But I think part of that is also I enjoy kind of hold-for-hold wrestling. I think they had more actual, counters and stuff in their match in comparison to Triple H and Undertaker, who were a bunch of power spots and weapons and just hitting finishers on each other.
Well, all right. Well, that's our thoughts on the Hell in a Cell. Next up was the match that we were all looking forward to: Team Johnny Ace versus Team Teddy Long. It was a clusterfuck and nobody cared. Team Johnny Ace won. Whatever.
Yeah, and the second they started putting Eve back with Zack Ryder, I thought, yeah, what's going to happen is Zack's going to have the match.
Is he like the dumbest person ever? I mean, really, you make him out to be like the most idiotic character ever, that he would still hang around with her.
It's like I said, they only gave him a push to do this to him to stop the "We Want Ryder" chants.
Yeah.
Or as James would call that, pulling an ECW.
Maybe. I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, because you could see it a mile away, and then it's like, yeah, in one final insult to injury, he gets kicked in the balls by her, and she just walks away. His teammate just kind of, all his teammates are kind of like, what the hell is going on?
You didn't see that coming? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well,
but that happened. I don't know. Is there anything else you want to say about it?
No, not really. So now we have another heel GM.
Okay, well, now the next match, I think you and I are going to conflict on this a little bit, with CM Punk versus Chris Jericho, which I have to say, I was very disappointed in this match. I didn't think it was very good. And I don't think it's their fault. I think, and I knew it when Hell in a Cell happened, I was like, that match is coming way too early in the show. And when you have a match that has like 85,000 kickouts, anything that comes after it is going to pale in comparison, and Punk and Jericho suffered from that. Their match kind of turned out ordinary by comparison.
Yeah, well, I will agree with you that this was kind of the match you were hoping could steal the show. I think we were. And I feel like the stipulation kind of hammering that in there at the last second took away from it. And then the early part of this
and what they were going to do is they should have announced it on Raw. But why are they announcing stipulations right before the match even starts?
I think it was honestly to sabotage them because, and then, like the first part of the match is basically the same thing over and over again. Jericho goes to the corner where he's in the ropes. The referee starts to count. Punk breaks. Jericho starts shooting stuff like, your mother's a bitch. Your sister's a drunk. To try to get Punk to hit him. Punk responds. He almost gets disqualified again and again. It's like, shit, who?
Yeah, if it worked for Triple H and Randy Orton, why would they do it here?
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, this is horrible. What are they doing here? And, it screwed up the match, and I feel like finally once they kind of got past working that, at least they had a good match, but I'm not going to call it
There were a couple nice counters towards the end, I will say that, but overall it was not the match that I think you and I wanted it to be.
Well, it's like you have said, Punk never has had it's like you said, Punk's never had a big WrestleMania moment solely of his own in terms of a match built around him, and Jericho, the previous times he's been in a high-profile match like this, one was he became, the dog walker. The other time was, they screwed up the Edge thing. So, it's like Chris Jericho's really 0 for 3 in terms of major WrestleMania moments.
Yeah, and that's sad. But, it is what it is, unfortunately. Yeah, CM Punk and Chris Jericho, that was it. And then we got the Funkasaurus, which was terrible. I'm so, again, Daniel Bryan and Sheamus get no time, but we have time to throw the Funkasaurus out there. That's great. Yeah, that was awful. And then we got the concert between like Flo Rida and Machine Gun Kelly, and they were terrible. I mean, I understand what they were going for, but I wouldn't have a problem with it, but they were just bad.
Right, and then it's also, I mean, you also have Machine Gun Kelly going, tonight we're going to see the ultimate underdog. I'm like, okay, wait, John Cena is a 12-time WWE/World Champion. That's like saying Larry Bird is an underdog to Magic Johnson. You know, not really.
Or Tom Brady's an underdog to Peyton Manning.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, really, you know, when a guy has more championships than most people have wins, you can't really say he's an underdog to anybody. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, to me, the underdog is, you know, trying to think off the top of my head. I mean, to me, the underdog is Rudy. It's Rocky. It's a guy that nobody thinks has a chance. But instead, I mean, they're trying to say, oh, well, Cena's such an underdog. I'm like, really?
Well, you even said it on Raw last week. I win all the time.
Yeah.
He even said that on Raw. So yeah.
Yeah. And then,
but again, it comes right down to, I don't think they even know what Cena is anymore. They just gotta he's the good guy, and that's all he is. So they just throw out anything that they think makes him look good.
Right. And then, I mean, you know, as we both said, the match felt like it went a little too long, and both guys gassed badly. I mean, I don't know if it was just
Cena especially. I did notice Cena looked really gassed. The match did go too long. I don't think it was a bad match. I thought it was good overall. I don't think it was the Mania Classic they wanted it to be. And it was obvious while I was watching, it's like they really want this to be Hogan and Rock, and it's just not clicking.
Right.
And I'll say this, Hogan and Rock, when they had their match, the crowd started red hot, and it got hotter as the match progressed. And that's what made it special, is that the crowd just reacted to everything, and it just kept building and building and building. This match really tapered off, like in the latter half of the match. Like, it started off with the energy, and then it got lesser and lesser as the match progressed.
Patrick, maybe you'll disagree with this, but I felt like the crowd was relatively dead for a WrestleMania most of the night. I never felt like...
Oh, they were terrible. I mean, this was one of the worst Mania crowds ever. Although, can you really blame them? Again, going back to the first hour, after that whole shit with Daniel Bryan happened, which, by the way, Daniel Bryan, there were yes signs all over the place when he walked out, so the dude was over. And when he got bitched out in 18 seconds, the whole next hour, the crowd just chanted Daniel Bryan. So you knew they were pissed.
I'll be honest, as they were starting the match, I was actually typing to post on the wall, wow, this is going to be one of those Mania matches where the heel gets all the cheers because there's nothing but yes signs up right now. And then bang, bro kick.
Mm.
I mean, it's amazing. I mean, it's like, and you know, God, I mean, unfortunately, there were people that were trying to defend it online, saying, "Well, it started the show hot." I'm like, it didn't really start the show hot. All it just kind of did was start the.
It ruined the whole first hour. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it ruined. I mean, it's like you could say, okay, it was hot because a title changed hands, but it's like, you know, wow, you couldn't give them anything more. I mean, these are two pretty talented guys that, you know, twice have gotten literally the short end of the stick when it comes to Time and Mania. Last year they got bumped off. This year they only get 18 seconds. Maybe they
got bumped off last year for Jerry Lawler and Michael Cole.
Yeah, and this
we
year
have to make that clear.
Yeah, and this year they got cut short so Boris Clay could come out with his mama in the Bridge Club.
God, it was so bad, but
really, like, and you
were the two hot black chicks there at least?
Yeah, they were, but
they were behind Brodus and his fat mama. I mean, literally, I actually want to know who thought to themselves, "Hey, guys, I have a great idea. Let's go out and hire like a troupe of ladies, dress them up like old ladies, and have them dance with Brodus Clay."
Well, that'll be a WrestleMania bumper.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, oh God, what the hell were they thinking?
It was, yeah, and I have to say, again, Cena Rock, at the end of the day, it was a good match, but it wasn't the Mania Classic they wanted it to be. And, that's probably disappointing for a lot of people.
You know what, I'll say this. It was never going to be a classic because John Cena is not the guy that's going to give you a classic matchup. I'm sorry. He has proven time and again in WrestleMania that he's not capable of these things. He no matter how much they try to make us think that he is a superstar, that he's a guy that is going to be the breakthrough guy, let's look at the facts. Match with JBL where he wins the title. Kaz called it perfectly. Well, that's it. The next year when, it was he and Triple H, bombed. Nobody remembers his match with Shawn Michaels.
And that wasn't a bad match, but they didn't build it up at all. I mean, it was one of the weaker. Name me one thing that they did in that build-up, aside them winning the tag titles, which I only remember because they walked out with the tag titles.
All I remember is Michaels was supposed to vaguely be the heel, and I had no idea why.
Well, I think it was people booing Cena. They didn't want to do face versus face, so they were trying to make Michaels sort of a
No, I mean, I know why. I get the logic of why. I'm just saying I don't get why, what he did, what dastardly deed he did to get the ire of the angry wrestling fan. I don't remember anything about that at all.
You know what they really went for? It was basically that Shawn wasn't nice to John Cena. Like, that was literally how they were making him.
He's a meaner.
He would basically.
But the thing is that most people hate Cena, so it just kind of works the opposite way, where anybody that's mean to him just gets over as a face.
Yeah, and also most people who know Shawn Michaels know that when he's mean to people, he can be a lot meaner to people than how he was to John Cena.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, oh, God. So, WrestleMania 28, I got to be honest, I was not impressed with this show. It was probably on par with last year's, but this one, I think, carried heightened expectations. You had a match that was built up for a year. You had a Punk and Jericho match that we were all looking forward to, and I was looking forward to the Hell in a Cell. And to be honest, the only thing on the entire card that really lived up to its potential was the Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a contender for one of the worst Manias of all time. It just wasn't, that great. And, like you said, a lot of that has to do with some of the expectations. They built up this match for a whole year. And I honestly think, you said it last time when we recorded the preview, that it looks like they're going for a trilogy. I now think that's going to happen. And you know what? I really don't think people are going to care that much. Because, we've already seen it once.
Yeah, now I will say this. I did mark out for when Rock won. I will say that. It's like, even though it doesn't make any sense for him to win, I was kind of like, you know what, fuck it, because the image of Rock losing to Cena would just, kill me as a mark. So I was kind of like, yay, Rock won, yay, that was cool.
Yeah, well, you know what, I would also argue it doesn't make much sense for Cena to win because, when he gets these big wins, they never increase his star power. They never, win over the fans that, boo him. I mean,
fans get irritated.
Yeah. To be perfectly honest, I will honestly say this about John Cena. He could run into a burning orphanage to save blind children and nuns and then run back in to save a priest and then hunt down the latest high-profile terrorist, kill him with his bare hands, and people would still chant, Cena sucks, Cena sucks, Cena sucks. Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of it is that he's just a puppet for this current image of the WWE, which is not, quite honestly, not a cool one. And you saw it here. The stars of the show, right or wrong, were the Attitude Era guys. Rock, Undertaker, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels. They're like, when you walk away from this WrestleMania, those were the major positives.
Right. Now, I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that they made it a point to make those guys the more important guys. But, yeah, I mean, Cena even said on Monday, it's like, I've been here when it's not cool to be a WWE superstar. And I'm like, a big reason it's not cool to be a WWE superstar, Cena, is because of you, because you're such a freaking puppet. You lack what they lack. It's okay that y'all chant Cena sucks because I want you to be happy when you come to the shows. Rock, you don't like me, but that's okay because you keep coming. I wanted you to come back so you can insult me because I love The Rock.
Yeah, but WrestleMania 28, I don't think this, and it's funny because a lot of people were thinking this was going to be one of the best WrestleManias of all time, and I don't even think it was close.
Yeah. It wasn't, and I'll just say this. Next year, here comes the pain.
Yes, Brock Lesnar. Some people thought he would show up tonight. There were reports out there that he signed a deal with the WWE. We'll see if that's true. I've kind of taken the attitude of I won't believe it until I see it. But, yeah, I guess Lesnar could be showing up on Raw tomorrow night, so we'll see.
You know what I honestly could see happening? Because, I mean, look, Brock's a guy who wants to make a lot of money. I think there's a part of him that loved fighting because it was a competition. But now the WWE is going to be willing, we've seen it, WWE is willing to build a WrestleMania program around you, even if you only make maybe, 5 appearances a year? So, I mean, I totally expect that tomorrow night, Brock Lesnar is going to challenge either The Rock or John Cena to a match next year.
Maybe even The Undertaker.
Yeah, they could do that.
But, yeah, that's WrestleMania 28. That's pretty much all I have to say. Very, overall, an underwhelming show.
Yeah. Just wasn't worth the money. You know, it's like they charged $54 for this thing, $65
$64 in HD.
Go HD, it's like, seriously, I mean, you have to give people more than that if you expect them to buy, a pay-per-view like this.
Right. Exactly. But, yeah, again, like I said, that's pretty much all I got to say about it. Is there anything else you want to add before we go head on out of here?
Honestly, no. I mean, what else is there to say other than, God damn it, you should have given Daniel Bryan and Sheamus a little more time. I'm begging. I felt so bad at these guys because for the second straight year, they both come out. They probably in the weeks leading up to like, okay, we're going to be on WrestleMania. This is damn cool. We're going to get to work. WrestleMania. I'm going to tell all my friends to watch it. Get all my family ready. Hey, at least this time I made the show, unlike last year.
Yeah, it's kind of sad when an 18-second match is a step up from the year before. But, yeah, that's all I've got for tonight, and hope you all enjoyed WrestleMania, hopefully more than we did. Thank you to Boris Zukov, who I assume the show is going to be attached onto that great interview. Check that out. It was definitely a very fun interview talking to him. Thank you to James for setting up the interview and for being with us here tonight, and thank you to Nick for staying on the line with me and airing your grievances against WrestleMania.
Fuck the WWE.
All right, man. Well, for Nick Noel and myself, I'm saying good night, everybody, and peace out.
No, I haven't made that.